On November 17th, 2023, Sam Altman got a text from his co-founder, Ilya. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that last name. Meet me at noon tomorrow. Sam logs into a Google Meet the next day, and his entire board is sitting there. Aya looks at him and says, "You're fired. 5 minutes of warning, that's it." The CEO of the most powerful AI company on the planet fired on a Google Meet while watching Formula One. But here's the thing that most people don't know. That firing was chapter 3 of a story that starts with a handshake in 2015 and ends 2 months from today with a $134 billion jury trial. A co-founder's private diary that says it was a lie, a $97 billion hostile takeover bid rejected in 4 days, secret texts between CEOs at midnight, and 2 of the richest men on earth accusing each other of fraud. Today on the Deal Desk, we are breaking down the full story, both sides, Elon's version, Sam's version, every deal, every betrayal, every text message, and I'm going to show you exactly what you can learn from the biggest broken deal in business history, so you never make the same mistakes. This is the Deal Desk. Welcome back. Braden, we have an insane story today.
This is going to be so good. I don't know much about this one, actually, so I'm excited to hear about it.
Which is crazy to me, okay? So, welcome to the Deal Desk, guys. My name is Josh Forty. Today we've got a little bit of a different one, structure, although I think if it goes well, we'll be doing more of these. We're going to be talking about the fallout and the whole drama lawsuit that is happening right now between Elon Musk and Sam Altman of OpenAI. And OpenAI is the parent company of ChatGPT, okay? This is honestly one of the most insane stories. And I have been following this since I've been following Elon for probably 7 years. And some of the stuff that we're going to cover, I literally watched happen in real time in the news and on X, and it's pretty nuts. And so as we were going through and doing research, I was like, you know what? We have a trial that is coming up in 2 months from today, which is kind of nuts. And this trial is it's a jury trial. They're literally going to put Elon on the stand. They're going to put Sam Altman on the stand, and they're going to have a literal live jury trial. And I'm like, we have to prep for this because it's so amazing. I'm going to take the day off. I think it's April 17th. We're company holiday, okay? So that's the breakdown for today. We're going to go through this kind of chapter by chapter and break down what happened, because not only is it a fascinating story, seriously, if you don't know about the story, or even if you do and you're not paying attention, you have to listen to today's episode, okay? It actually is relevant to your life. So we're gonna go through section by section or chapter by chapter through this story. We're gonna break down what happened, at least what is alleged to have happened, what we know about both sides, the timeline of things, and then the implications of what we can learn from each of these when it comes to deal structure and business structure and applying it in our own life and business. So buckle up, because this is the $134 billion betrayal, how a handshake deal became the largest. Wow. So buckle up. We got to try that again, Braden. We got to get clippable moments here. We're just live. it's like, I know most people, we got to get they're not going to watch the whole show. We got to get those clippable moments. All right, let's try this again. Buckle up. Okay, here we go. Buckle up, because this is the story of the $134 billion betrayal, how a handshake deal became the biggest lawsuit in tech history. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 1, the handshake. So in 2015, Sam Altman, who is the president of the Y Combinator, and Elon Musk, running Tesla and SpaceX at the time, share a fear. Google/DeepMind is going to monopolize artificial intelligence. If one company controls AGI, humanity is in trouble. Okay? So this is back when they were friends, because they used to be friends. Sam Altman was not the head of OpenAI yet. He was like not a nobody, but like comparatively to who he is now. Okay? They come together, and they co-found OpenAI as a nonprofit AI research lab. Greg Brockman, who's the former CTO of Stripe, and Ilya, hold on, I have the pronunciation of his name. Ilya Sutskever, who is a top AI researcher poached from Google, both join as co-founders. The stated mission of the company is to develop artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity, not for shareholders. They announce a $1 billion funding commitment to the press, and the world takes notice. Now, here's what's super interesting, okay? I have been following Elon very closely, so I know a lot of his narrative and claims, but there were some key pieces to this. The open part, like the open source, Elon's vision originally with this, and we'll kind of get into this, was to have it open source so that the public, so humanity could have access to the code of AI, okay? Now, Musk donates, hold on, where are my notes? Musk was one of the co-founders, both sides on the face. Braden, did my notes change? The stated mission of this? Okay, so here we go. So, no, I'm back. I just lost my place. Okay, so Musk version of how this went down. He said, quote, I co-founded OpenAI and funded it because I believe we needed a nonprofit counterweight to Google's OpenAI. Sam and Greg came to me. We agreed explicitly that this would be a nonprofit, open source, for the benefit of humanity. I put my money, my name, and my network behind the mission. The agreement is the foundation of everything, or that agreement is the foundation of everything that followed. Okay, that was a direct quote from Musk. Musk claims that he was the largest early funder and the reason OpenAI had credibility, that he personally recruited talent and connected the organization to resources it needed to survive, that the nonprofit commitment wasn't casual. It was, quote, the reason he participated in the first place, and he donated on a clear, shared understanding that this stays nonprofit, open source, and for humanity. That's Elon's version of how it started.
So basically, it sounds like he put money in thinking it was going to be one way, and then they ended up switching everything on him. So he's like left in the dust, essentially, is what it sounds like.
We haven't gotten there yet, but yes. And how we're going to break this down is really let me set the frame a little bit better, because as we're going through and going through each of these chapters there, because we have several chapters of this, is we're going to open up with like, okay, here's what happened. Then we'll talk Elon's version. Then we'll talk Sam/OpenAI's version. And really the parties here are are Elon Musk, and then Sam Altman and OpenAI, the organization. Now, the reason I say Sam Altman/OpenAI is technically you have Elon Musk, who is very wealthy at the time this happens, Sam Altman, who is not that wealthy at the time, and then they form OpenAI, and then they bring in these other players, including Greg Brockman, and then Ilya as well. So, but what ends up happening is that when the company forms, and where we're at today, is you have Elon on one side, Sam/OpenAI on the other, and that's who the battle is against. So this lawsuit that's coming up, or this trial that's coming up, the lawsuit of Elon, suing them for $134 billion and all that, those are the two parties. But I want to play both of their sides back and forth. And whenever I'm referring to OpenAI as opposed to Elon, OpenAI is Sam Altman and anyone that's involved in that organization that would be opposing Elon or seems to have veered from his original vision. Now, I will say, obviously, I love Elon. I'm a huge Elon fan. We've tried to be as unbiased as possible with this and just kind of break down what we know, okay? So that's Elon's version. That's why it started. Now, Altman's version / OpenAI's current day OpenAI says Elon was one of several co-founders and donors. He was important early on, but he wasn't the sole visionary he now claims to be. And from very early on, even he recognized that a pure nonprofit couldn't compete with Google. They claim that Musk was not the driving force, and that the $1 billion commitment was an announcement, not a binding pledge, and that Musk didn't deliver anywhere close to $1 billion. Musk himself emailed in 2015 that that they should announce $1 billion to avoid sounding hopeless, suggesting the number was a PR strategy, not a real funding commitment. In a 2016 email, Ilya wrote, quote, "As we get closer to building AI, it will make sense to start being less open," end quote. And that, quote, "it is totally okay not to share the science," end quote. Musk replied, "Yup," undercutting his own open source argument. So this is the foundation of it all. Now, where's the drama here? Why is this part of the chapter important besides the fact that it is, the foundation of where it started? Well, really, the claims here and like really the money question, if you will, comes down to this. How much did Musk actually give and what was the agreement? Okay? Because if Musk gave one amount, let's say $1 billion versus a much smaller amount, that is going to be a huge play into whether or not Elon's claims can be trusted, OpenAI's claims can be trusted, and how much is really at stake for Elon to win. The bigger question, much bigger question, is that did Elon only agree to come in and fund this thing if it remained an open source company, okay, for a nonprofit? Again, why is this relevant? Don't worry, this gets so much more dramatic, but really we're fighting for, like, if Elon were to lose this lawsuit, if OpenAI were to win, OpenAI basically takes a non-for-profit company and makes it for profit after they get $100 million or millions and millions of dollars from people, screw them out of it. Elon screwed them out of it. And then after they make billions of dollars, receive billions of dollars in investments and funding, then make it a for-profit business. Well, all that funding was tax-free. So like, there's massive implications to this. Okay, so this is the drama of its own. Musk's story has shifted multiple times. Now, Musk is usually pretty trustworthy and his story doesn't change. In March 2023, though, he tweeted that he donated, quote, $100 million. In May of 2023, so a couple months later, he claimed that on the interview that he donated some number on the order of $50 million. And in the 2024 lawsuit, which is Elon versus OpenAI, it filed that he donated $44 million. So OpenAI's take is that Elon contributed less than he claims and got exactly what a nonprofit donor gets: no equity, no control, and a tax deduction. Musk's take says, hey, I was the financial backbone of OpenAI's formative years, and my contributions went far beyond cash. I gave credibility, talent, and strategic direction. I go and deserve something. Now, here was the mistake made by Elon, which is crazy because he doesn't often make mistakes. There was no written agreement. How can we just talk? How on earth, Elon, do you have what you believe to be a fate of humanity level event here, or issue going on? You form an agreement to the tune of what you claim is $100 million and not have a written agreement in place. Like, that is crazy.
Wild.
Okay.
Wow.
There was no contract, no operating agreement, no equity terms, no documenting specifying that OpenAI must remain a nonprofit forever. No restriction on restructuring, nothing. Elon doesn't even refute this, which is pretty wild. Okay. So the $44 million or $100 million, depending upon who you ask, was donated on a handshake deal between friends. Side note, I need some of those friends. Okay. Like, handshake deal, here's $100 million or $44 million. That'd be pretty lit. Now,
Honestly,
there's
different network.
there's a couple of takeaways here from this as we kind of lay down the foundation. First is that if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. We as entrepreneurs, as deal makers, we should strive to be someone. Like God calls us to be someone of integrity and honesty and of our word. But when it comes to the real world, when it comes to lawsuits, when it comes to contracts, if it's not in writing, it does not exist. And so it is important to have things, especially when it's this order of magnitude, exist. The second lesson, and I actually think this one is a bigger deal, and one that we can take away from it, is that the announcement of something isn't the real deal. Because like OpenAI, when they launched, announced $1 billion. $1 billion, okay? They had somewhere between 44 million and 100 million. Not $1 billion.
You know what that reminds me of too is right now, like currently, Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
They announced that they even created a page that they're merging and everything. But then I hear that the deal actually is falling through, and there's so much more going on behind the scenes, and that they just announced it, even though nothing is set in stone, which is wild to me.
Okay.
It's like a positioning move.
Okay, exactly what I was going to say. Yesterday's show, we talked about this. When it comes to negotiating, right? When it comes to deal making, perception is everything when it comes to negotiating with leverage. You have, over the top, we've got this. If you have unquestioning, perception or unquestioning of your perception, like you can get away with a lot. But as soon as that starts to crumble, everything starts to fall apart. That's what's happening here. That's what's happening with the Warner Brothers deal. Fascinating take on that or observation there, Braden. Well done. So basically, I'm not going to lie, this tainted my view of Elon a little bit. Now, I will say, I do think as we go through this, I do think Elon's going to win. But I'm like, Elon, you ain't so squeaky clean as you want to be seen as. All right, so that's chapter 1. That was the foundation of this all. You have the most powerful AI company in the world, OpenAI, ChatGPT, that gets started by Elon Musk donating somewhere to the tune of $44 million to $100 million and saying, this is the reason for it. Sam Altman, they partner up. Then now there's drama over the structure, what was agreed upon, how much was donated, all that. Okay, chapter 2. The breakup. Keep in mind, they were friends at the time, dude. That's crazy. I can't imagine Sam and Elon as friends. They're enemies.
That's how it started, which is crazy.
Okay, so this is where the story gets complicated and where both sides have real ammunition. Pay very close attention to the timeline here, okay? Because it is important. Here's what makes by mid 2017, OpenAI is burning cash and falling behind Google. Everyone, including Musk, knows they need more money. But the question is, how do you raise money while staying true to the nonprofit mission? Because man, who's going to donate hundreds of millions or billions of dollars that are necessary to fund an AI company if you know it's not for profit, right? You're not going to get your money back. There's no inherent value to you. You're just essentially lighting money on fire because you know if the next guy doesn't donate, it's all going to fall apart. Now, what makes this chapter so messy as we get into this is that the alleged deception and the open negotiations were happening at the same time, but on parallel tracks. So you need to follow both tracks to understand what is going on each side. So basically, what we're about to see here is that there's a conversation over here happening between Elon and OpenAI. And then there's a sidebar happening for the people at OpenAI where they're planning something different. So I'm going to break down these two parallel tracks because this is where the breakup happens. All right. So September 2017, Elon Musk sends an ultimatum email. Quote, either go do something on your own or continue with OpenAI as a nonprofit. I will no longer fund OpenAI until you have made a firm commitment to stay, or I'm just being a fool who essentially is providing free funding for you to create a startup. Braden, fact check that email. Pull that up. I want to make 100% sure. I'm pretty sure that's correct, but I just want to say, look up Musk's 2017 email about remaining a nonprofit and free funding. Cool. The next day, Altman responds, quote, I remain enthusiastic about the nonprofit structure, end quote. Brockman made similar assurances. This exchange is the foundation of Musk's entire fraud case. He says, I asked point blank, they told me nonprofit. I kept funding based on that answer. Now, look. Real quick, come to present day, Elon's lawsuit is essentially this. Hey, I funded this company. I gave it a bunch of money. And the reason I gave it to them was because it was going to be a nonprofit, open source company for the betterment of humanity when it comes to AI. That's his claim. He is suing them because OpenAI has turned for profit. They are now closed source, so not open. They're closed. They're for profit, not nonprofit. And they're worth tons and tons, billions of dollars. I think it's like between $500 and $700 billion. And so Elon is like, yo, I gave you $100 million essentially to fund your startup, and I got nothing out of the deal. That is the premise of the lawsuit. Now, I have my own thoughts on that as to why he's actually going after that. I think it has to do narrative and control, but that's the lawsuit. And the entire claim of this lawsuit is based on this argument right here, or the entire foundation is based on this, okay? Now, that's the first track, Elon's communication back and forth with OpenAI. Here's track number 2, which is, well, while Altman was telling Musk, I remain enthusiastic about the nonprofit structure, which, by the way, what kind of a response is that? I remain enthusiastic about the nonprofit structure. I mean, Elon, come on, dude. I know you're not exactly like social and don't pick up on social cues, but that kind of seems like a cop-out answer. Anyway, while Altman was telling Musk, I remain enthusiastic about the nonprofit structure, the internal conversations tell a different story. Here's the bombshell. Greg Brockman's private diary was entered into the lawsuit, which means we now have Greg Brockman's, who was part of the board of OpenAI, his private diary of what he was writing to himself for the whole world to see. Dude, the drama of this. Reminds me of the verse in the Bible that's like, be prepared for like anything you say in secret to be broadcast on the rooftops, right? Yeah. Here's what it said. On November 6th, 2017, just weeks after Altman's email to Musk, Brockman writes in his private diary, quote, the conclusion is we truly want the B Corp, for profit. I cannot believe that we're committed to nonprofit if 3 months later we're doing B Corp. Then it was a lie, end quote. Quote, Musk's story will correctly be that we weren't honest with him. End quote. That is insane. In his own diary.
Yeah, that's nuts. I found out too, those emails are legit. So
okay.
I found out from Grok. Yeah, they're legit.
So Elon really did say in that ultimatum one, hey, you must continue to stay nonprofit. This very much supports his claim that he said the reason he was funding it, even though there wasn't a written agreement, was on the basis that it was going to remain nonprofit. So Greg Brockman is writing this in his personal diary. And then the last parts of the diary entry were that he wrote, quote, that converting without Musk would be, quote, morally bankrupt. And that he couldn't, quote, see us turning into a for-profit without a very nasty fight. He wanted Elon Musk, quote, out, end quote. Okay. Brockman, the co-founder of OpenAI and the number 2 to Sam Altman, is writing in his own personal diary that they were lying to Elon Musk about wanting to stay OpenAI or planning on staying or a nonprofit, that Elon's story would be correct, that they were lying to him, that it would be morally bankrupt to convert without Elon, that it was going to be messy, and he wanted Musk out. This could be the make or break of the whole case right there, okay? So there's that. That's track number 2. That's happening behind the scenes. There's a third track, though, okay? And these third track are the open negotiations back and forth. So this is in late 2017. Here's the part that complicates Musk's clean, quote, betrayal narrative, the for-profit, here's the part that complicates Musk's clean betrayal narrative, meaning maybe, Elon, you weren't betrayed as much as you wanted to make it seem. In late 2017, leadership of OpenAI, including Elon Musk, openly discussed creating a for-profit entity to raise capital. This isn't secret. Everyone agrees the nonprofit can't compete with Google on funding alone. So Elon is now entered into the equation in conversations about making the company for profit, because otherwise they'll never be able to compete with Google, who has basically unlimited funding. But the negotiations collapsed because they can't agree on who controls the for-profit. Here's Elon's version of how this went down. Elon said, quote, "Yes, I participated in discussions about how to structure a for-profit entity, but I wanted safeguards that would keep the mission intact. I proposed structures that preserved nonprofit oversight while enabling fundraising. Sam and Greg rejected every proposal because they wanted unchecked control. When I pushed back, they froze me out." Musk claims that he was willing to discuss the for-profit structure, but only with the mission safeguards, and that his proposals were rejected by Sam and Greg. Now, here's the deal. When it comes to what he said versus what OpenAI is about to say, these are like almost polar opposite stories. And so this is where trust really, really comes into play, particularly when you're going back, years and recalling things, because people are going to pick a side. Here's Altman/OpenAI's version of these negotiations. Again, this was in late 2017. Quote, "Elon didn't want safeguards. He wanted majority equity, initial board control, and to be CEO. We said no because giving one person absolute control over AGI would betray the entire mission. When he didn't get what he wanted, he walked." They claim, OpenAI, that Musk demanded majority equity, initial board control, and the CEO title, essentially full ownership of what was supposed to be a shared mission. Ilya pushed back directly in an email saying, quote, "It is a bad idea to create a structure where you could become a dictator if you choose." That's a pretty telling email. By the way, double check this, Braden, but I'm pretty sure that Elon was the one that recruited Ilya in the first place. OpenAI also claims that when that failed, Musk proposed merging OpenAI into Tesla, with Tesla as, quote, "the cash cow." OpenAI rejected this because it would hand control of AGI to a publicly traded company and to Musk personally. They claim that Musk's departure was voluntary and that nobody pushed him out. And when he left in 2018, he told the team he was, quote, "supportive of us finding our own path to raising billions of dollars." This is a very critical split point because, technically speaking, everything that led up to this point could have been true. Elon's initial vision, Elon doubling down and saying, "I'm only going to fund it if you remain for profit." All of those things could have happened. But now, even Elon admits there is these discussions about taking it private and making it a for-profit company. So the outcome of this really determines the outcome of the lawsuit. So who's telling the truth? Oh, sorry. Yeah. OpenAI's rebuttal on the diary, because that's kind of a big deal. By the way, dude, I don't know about diaries. I journal sometimes from time to time, but man, I don't know if I would ever want to put something that is openly admitting that you're going to lie. Also, how does that even get leaked? How does that happen? Was it in
That's how I wonder. I'm was he on somebody else's side and he did that intentionally? Because again, it needs to be in writing, so they have proof against OpenAI. So I wonder if he was under.
Dude, I bet you that's a whole storyline in and of itself. You literally
I
have.
wonder what's going on.
Could you write a better script?
Dude, it's it's intense, and I like that it's still happening. So we get to follow through with it. When's the trial happening? It's in 2 months, right?
April 17th, I'm pretty sure. Let me scroll down to it. April 17th is when is it going to trial? I don't even know. Where's it at? Oh my goodness gracious.
But while you're doing that, Ilya was primarily recruited by Elon Musk.
By Elon. Okay. Here we go. So the trial is happening April 27th through May 22nd. It's a 4-week trial, and it's in Oakland, California, a jury trial. And the damages sought are approximately a 3,500x of Elon's original donation of between $79 billion and $134.5 billion, which would be a wild, wild settlement. But my take is, dude, Elon doesn't care about the money. He cares about the control of AI, and he probably has a personal grudge against Sam, if I'm not going to lie. Okay, so who's telling the truth? Well, here's the honest answer. They both might be telling a version of the truth. The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, okay? I'm tending to side with Elon, but honestly, we're going to know more on the trial. It can be true that Altman reassured Musk about the nonprofit while privately leaning towards conversion, and that Musk wanted to control the company. I could totally see that, right? Elon, he's what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just steamroller. He's just not a dictator. What's the word I'm looking for? He's, he wants control.
Yeah, okay. He loves control. I can just think of like category king. Everything he gets into, he wants to be like the kingpin of it.
Yes. Now, I will say in 2018, Elon did resign. And that is a really important piece here, because when he resigns, he literally just walks away. He doesn't ask for, and he doesn't even deny this, right? He does not ask for anything else. And I think the lesson here, as we go on to chapter 3, is first that if you leave the table, like if you leave your seat at the table, like you no longer have a say. And it just seems like there's more to the story of this than, like, it just doesn't seem to me like Elon would go after all this drama, putting in all this money, and then basically be like, you know what, actually, I'm resigning and I'm out, right? So I do think that there's got to be more to the story there with Elon's claim. However, that being said, the fact that he did resign and admits that he resigned, and there is no paper trail, right, of him saying, I want ownership, is a pretty telling mistake, right? It's a pretty telling event.
Yeah.
Also, another lesson when negotiating is that someone can be negotiating in good faith and planning a different outcome. And this is something that I had to learn as well, because like I've had times when I've negotiated deals where I'm sitting down and we're talking about, you know, the investment, the cost, what we're going to do with the, you know, the money, what the plan is, all of that. And when the version or the vision is painted, it's like you present the vision, but you present a vision that is related to getting the deal done. But also, like, I had a vision of what it looked like after that, or planning an outcome a certain way. And the person that I was doing the deal with, they agreed with me on the initial vision, but they had a different outcome in place, right, in their mind. And like, those things do matter, because you can get an agreement in place and you can even trust the person, right? I'm imagining me doing a deal with, I mean, even you and I doing a deal, you know, Braden, or, you know, maybe a deal with a really good friend of yours or someone you really trust. And it's like, the person could be honest and just have a different a planned outcome. And that's where things can really get messy. It's why oftentimes deals do end up, even with good intentioned people, honest, good people, do end up very, very messy. All right, so chapter 3. So this is the coup. The most dramatic 5 days in Silicon Valley history. A boardroom ambush, a mass mutiny, a reversal that rewrote the power map. Keep in mind, up until this point, like, we literally just have the setup of what happened, the fallout and the breakup, and then like, who's telling the truth? Elon left. What's happening? Elon Musk OpenAI is blowing up at this point because of, you know, ChatGPT. This is where the story. I do not think it is an exaggeration to say that it is the most dramatic 5 days in Silicon Valley history. Okay. On November 17th, 2023, the OpenAI board fires Sam Altman as CEO. Okay? Now, how they did that was they literally called him into a meeting saying, hey, tomorrow noon, we're having a meeting. Show up. He shows up on a Google Meet link, which, by the way, Google Meet.
Oh,
What
dude,
are we?
Not the route to go.
Yeah. Okay. They fire him. But then here's the series of events, real quick bullet point. Then 5 days later, Altman is reinstated. Not only is he reinstated, the board members who voted to fire him are removed, and Altman himself gets to handpick his own personal new board. Okay? So here's what happens. On November 17th, November 16th, he gets an email. November 17th, he gets has the call, he gets fired. The board claimed the reasons why they fired him were because Altman had launched ChatGPT in November of 2022 without telling the board. They literally found out on Twitter.
That's actually wild.
ChatGPT is the fastest growing software ever to hit 1 million subscribers. 0 to 1 million in 5 days. And the board finds out on Twitter. Not only that, but they found out that Altman had withheld information about his ownership of the OpenAI startup fund. So this entire time, Sam Altman was claiming that he had no ownership inside of OpenAI and that he was he actually did this under oath. He was saying, no, he works there because he loves it. But what he didn't disclose is that he had a position in the startup fund that was provided funding and had ownership of OpenAI. On top of that, he provided inaccurate information about the small number of formal safety processes that the company did have in place. And 2 executives told the board about a, quote, toxic atmosphere, and they used the phrase psychological abuse and said that they didn't think it was right for this person to lead the company to AGI. So Ilya texts Altman the night before, says, meet me at noon, and the next day, the full board was on the Google Meet. Altman was informed that he was being removed, and he had 5 to 10 minutes of warning. Microsoft, which at the time had invested $13 billion, was told just before the public announcement. Okay, pause. A little context. So Elon leaves this in 2018. This is in 2023, so 5 years later. Between then, in 2022, ChatGPT launches, goes insane, takes the world by storm. OpenAI is running out of money. They'd go to convert into a for-profit. In the process of that, because they were doing that, they were able to get Microsoft to give them $13 billion in exchange for 49% ownership, I believe, and access to the data until like 2032, I think. So they have a massive stake in this company. They were not told about them firing Altman, and they weren't told they were not told about him firing Altman. They weren't consulted. It just happened. Imagine investing $13 billion into a company and then not being told or even asked or even told that the CEO of that company was being fired by the board. Like, the drama and the craziness and the plot twists of this story are insane. Although I will say a big takeaway from this when it comes to deal structure is you got to look at who controls the decisions. I remember, was it Rockefeller, I think? That was like, own nothing, control everything. Ownership doesn't really mean much when it comes to power. Control does, right? Like, you need to be the one that makes the decisions. Okay. So, Altman.
Yeah, that was Rockefeller who said that.
Okay, here's where it gets crazier. So, Altman's out. The next day, or over the course of the next 4 days, 730 of the 770 OpenAI employees, about 95% of them, signed a letter threatening to quit and follow Altman to Microsoft. Microsoft CEO publicly offered to hire Altman and his entire team. And Ilya, the man who led the firing, posted on X that, quote, I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. So on November 22nd, just 5 days later, Altman gets reinstated. And Toner and Macaulay, who were part of the board of OpenAI that voted to fire Sam Altman, gets removed. Okay, pause. You get a text at noon. Or you get a text right now, Braden. Ding. Hey, we're having a meeting tomorrow at noon. Come. You're like, all right, what's up? Sounds good. Go to sleep. Wake up next day. Now, imagine you're getting ready to go into this meeting, but you're the CEO of a company. You got 770 employees. You hop on this meeting, your entire board is there, and they're like, you're fired. And it's like, what the frick? So you go to your investor who gave you $13 billion, and they weren't informed, so they're pissed off too. And you go, hey, look, I just got fired. We got no say in the company anymore. And so that company goes, you know what? We'll hire you. Come over to Microsoft, and we'll keep running the company over here. But not only that, then 730 of your 770 employees sign a letter that says, we'll leave the current company, come over to Microsoft with you, Sam, and we'll rebuild the company up unless you get reinstated at OpenAI. Props to Sam, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. That's pretty wild.
Talk about a 5 days. I'm glad I didn't live that, but my word, I would have loved to been a fly on the wall for that. So then OpenAI board caves. They go, okay, Sam's back in. And oh, by the way, Sam, you basically have full control. Wipe the board clean, instate a new board of directors that will basically allow you to do whatever it is that you want. This is what happens. Guys, this is the most powerful AI company in the world. In a very large part, controls the fate of humanity in regards to what happens with AI. This is what's happening. Do you think these structures, do you think these people have it all figured out? You're worried to do a $1 million deal. You're worried to raise money. You're worried to go and take a risk because, oh my gosh, what if it's messier? What if I can't figure it out? These people are literally doing straight up coups right out in the open and doing $1 billion back and forth publicly on X, not informing the CEOs and boards of multi-billion dollar companies. Go take that risk. I promise you, it's going to be okay. All right. So Altman then handpicks a new board, and Ilya stays temporarily, but then quietly leaves in May of 2024. I can only imagine what Elon is sitting there thinking right about this time, right? Just wild. Musk's version from the sidelines, speaking of that, is this is exactly what I warned about. The nonprofit board, the only governance check on the company building AGI, tried to enforce accountability, and they got steamrolled by investor pressure and employee revolt. The fact that 730 employees threatened to quit proves this isn't a nonprofit serving humanity anymore. It's a tech company serving its shareholders. The board was the last safeguard, and Sam eliminated it. So basically, Elon is like, told you so. Now, again, that's Elon's narrative. I'm sure there's more to it than that, clearly. But to Elon's point, he did say that he was worried about investors, because if it became for profit, that it would not be nonprofit and it wouldn't be for the betterment of humanity. It would be to serve investors. That is literally and actually what played out, right? So, lesson from this as we go on to chapter 4. The lesson from chapter 3 is governance in your deal structure is everything. Who is it that has control of decisions? I don't care what ownership you have. Ownership creates wealth, but it does not create power. Okay? And there's a massive, massive difference. And deals are this awesome, epic thing that you can do. You can change your life. You can build things. You can go and you do deals to make money. You do deals to secure wealth and to grow your wealth. You do deals to have power. You do deals to better the world. You do deals to, get healthy. But different deal structures do different things. And there's always trade-offs. And there's deals that make you wealthy, and there's deals that make you rich, and those are different. And there's deals that give you power. And at the end of the day, the ones that, or the structure of it does matter. Okay, chapter 4. It just keeps getting better. I'm so excited. I cannot believe we get to watch that. We should see if we could fly out and attend this trial. I wonder if they're selling tickets. If they're not, dude, if they're not selling tickets,
Yeah.
they should sell tickets. We should like pirate the stream or something. Okay, chapter 4, the conversion of nonprofit to for-profit. The thing Brockman wrote about in his diary in 2017 finally happens at 100x the scale that anyone could imagine. Keep in mind, this started with $44 million roughly at the beginning. The fact both sides agree on. So now we're coming together, okay? We're going to cover the facts that both Elon and Sam Altman, OpenAI, everybody agrees. We're all happy again just for a second, okay? Number one, OpenAI restructures from a nonprofit controlled entity into a for-profit public benefit corporation. I just don't get it. How is that a thing? Like, how can you just go, we're going to start a nonprofit. We get all the advantages, all the tax benefits, all the special privileges. We're going to take investor money under the guise that we're doing good, essentially getting free money for a startup, and then just, we're going to convert it to for-profit. Great business model, by the way. Unethical, but. Okay, so OpenAI restructures from nonprofit to for-profit. Microsoft becomes a major equity holder, and OpenAI's valuation reaches approximately $500 billion. Musk's original donation is worth nothing. Zero. He has no equity, no ownership, no board seat, no shares, or no voting rights, nothing.
Yeah, that would be tough to witness from Musk's point of view. Seeing you donated in the beginning phases and then watch it take off like it did. And now it's like a direct competitor of Grok still. I wonder if Grok would have been actually launched. It probably wouldn't have.
No, it wouldn't have, because Elon was holding off. He did not want to get in part of the AI race. He didn't want to. He wanted to stay out of it. And then when this was all going down, I remember him tweeting out the day that he decided that he was going to launch Grok. He's like, I've ignored AI, or I've sat on the sidelines for too long. It's time to join the race. Okay. And like, he locked in, and, up comes Grok. Now Grok is
before the Twitter acquisition or after?
This was after the Twitter acquisition. I'm 99%. You can look it up. Yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I think it was after. XAI might have been a company at that point, but as far as like building Grok, I don't think so. I could be wrong on that though. So here are the conversion numbers. Keep in mind, remember, Sam Altman and the OpenAI Foundation, Microsoft, the employees, and everyone else contributed essentially $0 to the startup. Elon, as far as we know, contributed all or a majority of the funding that started this company. When they converted from a nonprofit to a for-profit, the equity share was 26% went to the OpenAI Foundation, which was a for-profit state company. So they're like, oh yeah, we're a for-profit entity that happens to own stake in this for-profit company. It's how Sam Altman is able to still claim that OpenAI is a nonprofit, because the OpenAI Foundation, which is a nonprofit, owns 26% of the stake.
That's crazy. What a loophole. And by the way, I did check, and Grok was created after he bought Twitter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
The equity amount that they got was 26%, and it is valued at approximately $130 billion. Put in zero, get $130 billion, not bad. Microsoft gets 27% of the equity share. That's worth about $135 billion. Not bad off of their $13 billion investment. It's like a 10x, right? Employees, they also get equity share equal to about $130 billion. Oh, I wonder why 730 of the 770 employees were willing to quit. Couldn't imagine have anything to do with the $130 billion worth of equity. No. SoftBank plus new investors got about 15% of the deal, worth about $75 billion. And other investors got about 6% of the deal, worth about $30 billion. And Elon got 0% of the deal, worth $0. So that sucks.
Yeah.
It's not about the money for Elon, but my gosh, he really does look like he got taken to the cleaners here. Like,
100%.
man, his ego's got to be hurting. And just like from putting my thoughts about Elon aside for a second, yo, you got played, bro. So OpenAI also gets rights to OpenAI. I'm sorry, Microsoft also gets rights to OpenAI's IP through 2032. OpenAI commits to spending $250 billion on Microsoft's Azure. SoftBank puts in $30 billion contingent on the conversion completing. And Musk's $44 million donation to a nonprofit yields no equity, no board seat, no governance right, and no returns. And guess what? Technically speaking, if you didn't know anything else about the situation, you'd be like, well, yeah, it was a nonprofit. Of course. Right? So Elon, stop being a baby. LOL. Musk version says, hey, this is the fraud I've been warning about. They took my money under the promise of a nonprofit. They assured me in writing, in emails, in person, that the mission was sacrosanct. They then converted my donation into a $500 billion for-profit company where I own nothing and Microsoft owns 27%. This isn't a restructuring. It is the largest bait and switch in corporate history. That's a direct quote. Okay. Musk's perspective on the conversion is that they took his money and without him, this wouldn't have been possible in the first place. And that he donated for one reason and they're doing the exact opposite. It proves that Greg Brockman's diary was right, that it was a lie from the beginning, and that Microsoft, not humanity, is the beneficiary of his donation. Altman and OpenAI have a different version. They say, quote, Elon himself proposed a for-profit structure in 2017, which we know he did, but that's not the whole story. He proposed merging us into Tesla. He agreed that nonprofit couldn't compete with Google. The only reason we're having this conversation is because Elon wanted to own the for-profit version himself, and we said no. He's not upset about the conversion. He's upset that he doesn't own it. In their perspective, a for-profit structure was always going to be necessary. Even Elon Musk agreed. The nonprofit retains 26%, $130 billion, so the mission is still funded, LOL. The PBC structure legally requires balancing profits with public benefit, LOL. Musk left voluntarily, and he said he was supportive of them finding their own funding path, and that his real motivation was XAI is currently losing to OpenAI, and that is his competing company. That's why he is upset. Now, I'll say this. Just because something is in the best interest of someone doesn't mean that shouldn't happen. Because, like, if I provide the funding for something, and then later on that funding for something, or that thing that I provided funding for, is going to go and change into the benefit of someone, then shouldn't that someone be the person that provided funding to it? Like, that is not a stretch. That's a pretty logical argument to be made. And just because, yes, Elon would have benefited greatly from him being the one that got the ownership, that doesn't mean it's wrong. Now, we can argue the details of it back and forth. We can say that Elon made big mistakes along the way that basically allowed him to forego or made him forego that. But the argument that Elon is just mad because someone else got the benefit of his money and not him, to me seems like kind of a lame argument, because I'm like, well, duh, I'd be pissed too. You took $100 million and gave it to somebody else that I hate that is exact opposite of the mission. So for me, I think Elon has a right to be mad. And if I had to, before we go and talk about the final part of the story here, which was the hostile takeover and then lawsuit, is I would imagine that from a moral, like, Elon is clearly playing the moral frame here, right? He's trying to get the moral high ground. And from from that perspective, I think Elon's got a case. And I think Elon seemingly operated in good faith in a lot of the ways, and that he likely, because of that, got taken advantage of. And I would bet that OpenAI, while they were very slimy, and while they were deceptive, and while they did not operate in good faith, I would bet that they probably crossed their T's and dotted their I's as much as they possibly could. And they did things legally and used Elon's trust of them to their advantage. That would be my guess. Now, that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to play out. It doesn't mean that they're going to win or that Elon's going to win. I'm just saying that's kind of what I'm seeing here as far as how this is going down. Okay, so the $97.4 billion hostile takeover attempt in February of 2025. This was last year, okay? The most audacious power play in the entire story. On February 10th, after all this drama is going down, on February 10th, Elon Musk assembled a group of investors: XAI, Baron Capital, Ari Emanuel's Endeavor, 8VC, Vi Capital, Valure, and Trades, and bid $97.4 billion for OpenAI's nonprofit. His attorney, Mark Toberoff, said, quote, "It's time for OpenAI to return to the open source, safety-focused force for good it once was." Find out when he launched Grok, like what the date was, the actual date that Elon Musk launched Grok, Braden.
November 2023. That's what I have right here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is about a year or so after that. Altman responds on Twitter and says, quote, "No thanks, but we will buy Twitter for $9.74 billion if you want." Dang, what a ballsy tweet, man. Elon had bought Twitter for $44 billion, and he was basically saying it's worth nothing. I gotta give it to Sam, dude. I think Sam is probably a liar. I think he's probably extremely manipulative. He's got a lot of issues. I don't think Elon's squeaky clean here. But props to Sam for just standing in there and just firing right back. Because like that, taking on Elon is not a easy task. So props to him. And to do it on his own platform is pretty ballsy as well. Elon Musk replies to the tweet and goes, "Swindler," and then in another post called him Scam Altman. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, OpenAI board formally rejects the bid. The attorney, William Savit, calls it not a bid at all. And the chairman, Brett Taylor, said, quote, "OpenAI is not for sale." Musk counters that he'll withdraw if OpenAI halts the for-profit conversion. OpenAI says no. So here's what's happening here, okay? OpenAI says, hey, we're going from nonprofit to for-profit. And Elon tries to stop it. How? By raising a bunch of money to say, I'll buy it. Like we'll fund it. We'll take it back to the original vision. We'll buy out everybody. Everybody wins. It was kind of a lowball offer. I'm like, I don't think Elon, I think Elon did it solely for the play of I tried so that he could reference back and point to the fact that he did try to interject. Okay. I think that was a leverage play for later. So he tries to take over them. They say no. And so then Elon Musk goes and launches a lawsuit. OpenAI launches a lawsuit. So they fire back with their own lawsuit. And they accuse Musk of an unlawful campaign of harassment. They call the $97.4 billion bid a sham designed to destabilize, not acquire. Again, Elon's playing chess. He just wants people to see that they're actively getting offers way less than what they're claiming that it's for. He's trying to rattle them, right? Trying to slow them down any way that he can. They claim that he's using his 200 million followers on X to publicly attack and damage OpenAI. It's a lot harder to do that if you're just trying to go after them. It's a lot easier to say, no, I was actually trying to buy them. So again, he uses the vehicle of the takeover. They say that everything Musk is doing is to benefit XAI, not protect the public. They seek damages for the harassment campaign and want to get money from Elon out of it. I'm like, dude, I get it, but wow. Elon Musk then allegedly tries to recruit Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, into the takeover attempt. This is crazy. I remember this because Elon basically needed more funds. So he's like, yo, Zuck, I know, Zuck, that we were about to cage fight in the Coliseum, right?
I forgot about that. Uh,
which would have been the most streamed event in
I wish
history.
they did. That would have been amazing.
Low key, dude, I think Zuck would have beat him. Like Zuck trains, dude. Like,
He looks like he looks fit and intense. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I had my money on Zuck as well.
Look, Elon, dude, I'm like, man, stop going after people and like making them mad and like saying you're going to fight them in the Coliseum and then trying to be their friend. All right. Like, learn some social skills, dude. All right. So the judge denied Musk's motion to dismiss the harassment claims, and they're going to trial too. So what's the lesson here? Your leverage has an expiration date. Because in 2017, Musk had maximum leverage. He was the biggest funder, a board member, a co-founder, and the public face of OpenAI. He could have negotiated equity, governance, conversion restrictions, anything, but he used none of it. Once again, in good faith. Okay? You have the highest leverage before you sign, before you deliver, and before the other side has what they need from you. Use it or lose it. Remember that in negotiating. If you take nothing else as a practical application out of this story, which hopefully this has been entertaining, okay? It's that right there. It's you have the highest leverage right before you sign, right before you deliver, and right before the other side has what it is that they need from you. Use it or lose it. All right, chapter 5, the trial. So, the climax, happening in 60 days, the biggest tech trial since Apple versus Epic. Elon countersues and is seeking damages from OpenAI. He's seeking between $79 billion and $134.5 billion in damages. The trial date is April 27th through May 22nd of this year. The location, Oakland, California. Jury trial, which is wild. The judge is the same judge who handled the Epic versus Apple case. Now, interesting side note, today, this is actually relevant, the timing of this is wild. Today, a separate XAI trade secret lawsuit against OpenAI was just dismissed, but the main case marches forward, which tells us that Elon's still hitting them with side suits, looking for any form of leverage that he can. So, let's back up. All this happens right before the upcoming trial. At the end of this was in, February 2025, Elon Musk does the takeover bid. They get rejected of it. And he's like, okay, fine. I'm not going to try to take you over. I'm suing. I genuinely believe that Elon believes in his heart of hearts that what they're doing at OpenAI is bad for society and humanity when it comes to AI. I genuinely believe that that's why he's doing it. I think it became personal for him, and that's why he's going so hard. He sues them. OpenAI countersues countersues for harassment for the whole ordeal. So there's these two suits going on back and forth. The interesting piece, though, is that OpenAI tried to see if you can find the tweet. I should have pulled this one up too. Elon Musk tweets out, welcome to the jungle, after the judge dismisses a motion from OpenAI to try to get the case dismissed. Okay. So OpenAI basically says, hey, look, we don't want anything we don't want this to go to trial. This is going to be messy. Elon's done enough damage. We want out of this, right? So they try to go and say, hey, this whole entire thing is just Elon trying to get back at us. It's not actually about what Elon's claiming it's about. He's mad that he didn't benefit from it. Please dismiss the case. The judge says, no, we're going to trial. And Elon tweets out, did you find that tweet?
Yeah, I posted it in the chat, and then I sent you a text of it too, if you want to pull it up.
What's the date of it?
The date is, let me check. It is November 14th, 2025.
Okay, so this is literally what? November 14th, we're talking December, January. We're talking exactly 100 days ago today, okay? 100 days ago, the judge says, nope, it's moving forward. We're going to trial. And Elon Musk replies to it and goes, welcome to the jungle. On April 27th of this year, Elon Musk will go on trial in front of a jury, and Sam Altman will go on trial in front of a jury. There will be cross-examining. They will be under oath. This is like a Harvey Specter, like scene out of Suits, man. Like high stakes drama for the future of OpenAI to a certain extent. Who's going to win? I don't know. You can bet on it on the prediction markets. I got my money on Elon. Yes, I put $100 on him because I'm always betting on Elon. Really, what's at stake here is even if Elon wins, OpenAI is not going to magically be handed back over to him. And if he loses, OpenAI is not going to, magically do anything that they weren't able to before. Now, if he loses, he might have to stop harassing them a little bit. But really what's at stake is that if Elon wins, he wins 137 or 100, up to $134 billion. Highly unlikely that he wins that full amount. And and he gets vindication for basically being like, hey, they lied to me. They took advantage of me. They took advantage of my goodwill. And I want that to be brought to justice. Elon does not care about the money. He doesn't need the money. He'll use it to fund his own AI startup, or XAI, but he doesn't need the money. But he does want personal redemption. And I believe, equally as importantly, he wants narrative control. Because that narrative control has massive, massive leverage when it comes to negotiating. And if he wins the case, he gets all the leverage of, hey, I really am the key dominant player here when it comes to the truth and knowing about AI. If he loses and OpenAI wins, OpenAI saves a bunch of money. They got a huge win up over Elon. They have a huge advantage over XAI. I assume there will probably be some form of terms in there that prevent Elon from going after them or harassing them or speaking negatively of them. And so it'll be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out. It is sure to be messy. So, one more thing I forgot. The reason that the judge ruled that the case could move forward was that she said she issued a 28-page ruling that shocked OpenAI's legal team. Okay? So, in this 28-page ruling, when they announced that the case was going to move forward, it said that, quote, there was ample evidence supporting Musk's fraud claims. It cited Brockman's diary entries directly as key evidence. It pointed to internal communications showing leadership saying one thing and publicly and then planning something completely different privately. And it denied OpenAI and Microsoft's motion to dismiss and ruled the case goes to a jury trial. That is what's so cool. It's a jury trial. I wish I was on that jury. Okay, I would be too biased. Okay, here's the key question for the jury and for us. Did Sam Altman and Greg Brockman reassure Elon Musk that OpenAI would remain a nonprofit in September of 2017, knowing they were already planning a for-profit conversion? And did that reassurance keep Musk's money flowing under false pretenses? I would also add not only the money, but also his lack of seeking more control or ownership equity in it. To wrap this up, here's Musk's case going into trial. He says, hey, I've got the diary entries that it was a lie, written weeks after the reassurance. We've got Altman's email saying, I remain enthusiastic about the nonprofit structure, sent while Brockman was privately planning for the for-profit conversion. You've got Microsoft CTO's own words from 2018 saying, ideologically, I can't imagine that they funded an OpenAI effort to concentrate ML talent so that they could then go build a closed for-profit thing on its back. Like his own words. The judge finding ample evidence. If the judge found ample evidence, she wouldn't send this to a jury trial otherwise. And then prediction markets shifting towards his favor. That's not really part of his case. But that's what's going for Elon. In OpenAI's defense, Musk himself proposed a for-profit structure and a Tesla merger. He can't claim he was blindsided by commercialization. He replied, quote, yup. What a crazy, damaging 3 letters. Like, my word, that's... Yeah, let me finish this. Then I have thoughts. He replied, yup, to Ilya's email saying that they should be, quote, less open, undercutting the, quote, open source argument. He left voluntarily and said that he was supportive of them finding their own path, which is true. He's running XAI, a direct competitor. His motives are commercial, not altruistic, which is a big deal. The diary entries are cherry-picked snippets taken out of context, at least they're claiming. Brockman was processing a hypothetical, not confessing, is what they claim. Now, that being said, even if that's the case, the judge still found there'd be enough evidence to support Musk's claims, directly citing that diary as where the evidence was. And OpenAI warned its investors to expect deliberately outlandish, attention-grabbing claims from Musk at trial. If there was a settlement, we're probably looking in the range of, I asked ChatGPT and I asked Grok, and they both said somewhere in the range of $1 billion to $50 billion-ish in potential settlement one way or the other. Okay. I'm not here to tell you who's right. We're going to find out, well, maybe, when this thing goes to trial. But man, what a story. And here's what I am here to tell you. When you're doing deals, in life, in any time when you have an agreement with someone, structure matters. And paper trails matter. And understanding human psychology matters. And timing of when you use things matters. And you need to understand these things when it comes to doing business, when it comes to making deals and negotiations, when it comes to really all areas of life. Because something as simple as when Elon had leverage, when you have leverage in something, the timing of it can make all the difference. Something as simple as not how much you're involved, but whether or not you have voting rights or decision-making rights can make all the difference. Whether or not you wrote something down, even though in your head it is a done deal, that is what we've agreed to, and we're all on the same page, doesn't matter if there's no documented evidence of it. And possibly the biggest takeaway for me, because I have a tendency to trust people. I have a tendency to give people the benefit of the doubt. I have a tendency to want to say, hey, no, I will give you trust by default, don't break it, is that even people that have good intentions, even people that you trust, even people that might be great people, can have a different version of where something ends up while agreeing with what it is that you are discussing and negotiating at the time. And relationships can be messy. And so the more you can document, the more you can have a paper trail, if for no other reason than to be able to have a reference point to go back and look at, really does matter. So, I kind of came up with 6 deal commandments from this Musk-Altman war. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. We talked about that. The announcement isn't the deal. $1 billion announced, $44 million is what was actually put in. Someone can be negotiating in good faith and planning a different outcome, like we just said. If you leave the table, you lose your seat. That's honestly probably what, like, to me, if I were to say there's going to be something that ultimately damages Elon's case big time, it's going to be that. That would be my guess. Governance structure is the deal, meaning who controls the decisions. And your leverage has an expiration date. Okay? That was today's story. That's today's episode. We're a little bit long here today, but as we wrap this up and bring it to a close, your action item, because we always want to be able to leave with something actionable, is think about every relationship right now that you have in business, in life, but particularly in business. Maybe it's with a co-founder. Maybe it's with a contractor. Maybe it's with an investor, okay? And think through, man, do I have things in play? Are we clear on how things have been negotiated? Are we clear on the structure of how our agreement is currently operating, right? Because if you don't have a signed agreement, you don't have a contract. You don't have a deal. If you don't have clear voting rights or who controls what, you don't have a deal. And you might not have control at all. And like, you hope it never happens, but you got to plan for the worst. Only the paranoid survive. So think through those key relationships. Think through where those key agreements are in place and go, hey, do I have proper protection in place? Hey, do we have a clear agreement in place? Or are we just operating under good faith? Because for the sake of both of you, if you're just operating under good faith, you should get that fixed as soon as possible. All right. You know exactly where I will be on April 27th. I will be on X all day, following along as the case goes down. I'm very, very excited to see how it all unfolds. Would love to hear your feedback on this, who you think is going to win, if you have money on it at all. There's the prediction markets that you could bet on it, and what your biggest takeaway was. We're going to do more episodes like this. We'll probably get the structure a little bit more dialed in, but appreciate you listening. We're live every day on X and on YouTube for The Deal Desk. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.